So now that we've talked about how to select something and then how to move it, you also have the ability to fill handle something. So you can see here that when I put my cursor over the bottom right hand corner when cells are selected, so I'm just going to go ahead and let's click our first and last name here. When we put our cursor over this little box that exists right here, our cursor turns into a crosshair. This is the autofill or fill handle option. And essentially I can take this and I can begin to click and drag, and I can extend a series, or I can copy something, or I can create more of it. So I can take this and drag it down through like cell A10, for instance, and it will repeat everything. When you drag and you let go, a little option will appear for your autofill options that allows you to pick like, what are you doing? In this sense, we get the ability to copy cells, which you can see that's selected. So it took this cell and it just copied it down. We can fill formatting only, fill without formatting, and flash fill. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Control Z to go back. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to go ahead and give it like a fill color with a yellow background, maybe make it bold, and possibly like a new like font. So I'm just going to go pick a different font. Sure, that one's good. Okay. So once I've got a fill using the shading option and bold and font, which you're recognizing all this from Word, I can then take this and I can fill handle it down through row 10 again. You'll see when I do that, it's automatically going to bring down not just the text, but also the format of it. When you hit the drop-down menu, it's copying the whole cell. It's copying everything about it, the stuff inside of it, the way it looks, all those types of things. And then you have fill formatting only. Fill formatting only is going to allow you to bring down the formatting so that if you like go into cell A10, for instance, and you start typing like your favorite food or something like that, it's going to look and have the format, the font, the bold, the background color, the same as the cell you brought down, okay? If you had, so I'm going to go back a few steps, so I'm going to hit Control Z to go back, or you can hit undo up here to where I just have this cell. So now if I had spaghetti here, I could bring down the information, I could fill handle it down, and when I fill handle it down over that text, you'll see that it will replace it. However, now I have the option to fill formatting only again instead of copying the cell. And now it'll bring it all the way down. Spaghetti will still be there, and it's brought the formatting down. The third option that I have is to fill without formatting, which essentially means it's going to copy the contents of the cells all the way down, replacing anything you drag over, but not the formatting of it. So you'll see that it'll bring my name down a bunch of times, but not the formatting, and spaghetti will disappear. Flash fill, the last one, allows you to bring down everything but not override other pieces of information. And actually flash fill is really useful when we start using numbers and tables and those kinds of things. So your autofill has a lot of options for these types of features, but it also can create patterns. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here a little bit. I'm in cell A15 and I'm going to type the number 1. If we think about patterns with numbers, the number 1 has a pattern of counting by 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So I can hit the check mark right here to accept the information. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill handle this down through row 20. When I fill handle this down through row 20, you'll see that by default, it will copy the number 1. That's because the autofill option is set to copy cells. But we now have a new option now that we're working with numbers called fill series. A series is essentially like, how am I creating a pattern? What's the next piece in the pattern? So by default, this is going to count by 1, and it's going to fill the series through to then count all the way to number 6 for us. We can even take all of these cells and we can copy them across, and they'll all copy across at the same time. If you can see that fill series is still selected because it's still doing a fill series going down. So you can do a lot of stuff with patterns. I want you to go ahead and start with the number 5 here this time. And when you fill handle down this time, what I want you to do is pause the video after this and see if you can get it to fill handle and do 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. So pause the video here and see if you can adjust your fill handle settings. You're going to probably have to explore the ribbon a little bit to see if you can get it to count by 5. So there's 2 ways that I can get it to count by 5. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 5 over here in column D as well. The first way, I can go ahead and take this and fill handle it down. But when I choose fill series, you'll see by default, it will still count by 1. I want to go ahead and adjust how much it's counting by or what its steps are. So I'm going to go up here to the ribbon, and all the way over in editing on the home tab, there's a fill option because we are in fact auto-filling or filling these cells. And when I go to the fill option, I can adjust the series of what it's counting by. This allows me to then adjust the step value. So right now the step value is set by 1. I'm going to set it by 5. And when I do that and I click OK, it will count by 5s. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that was 1, 2, actually 2 here because I had to fill the series, 3, 4, 5, 6 clicks for one little beautiful thing. When I could just identify the 2 pieces of the pattern. So the first cell of the pattern is 5, the second cell is 10. With both of them created, I can click and drag to select them. I remember clicking and dragging in the center of the cell to select them. With both selected, I can still fill handle, but what's great now is Excel is going to pick up on the pattern and drag it down counting by 5 because I defined the first 2 instances of the pattern. So I can then drag it down and it's going to create a pattern. So I'd like you this time to count by 20. So see if you can go 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120. So pause the video here and see if you can do that. The quickest way is to define the next number in the pattern, 40, select them both, drag it down, and you've got the pattern. The last piece about the fill handle I want to show you is that it not only does number patterns, but words. So like think about a pattern that we use constantly, like Monday, right? I can hit the check mark here, I can then fill handle across, and it will go through Friday. If I do MON for Monday, and it pops up with the remainder of the word because it's seeing that I already typed Monday once and thinks I need to type it again. I can delete what's in gray with backspace. I can then hit the check mark here and I can fill handle that across. And if I keep going, you'll see that if I zoom out here, I get to repeat it. Another one we use is like the months of the year. So like September, and I can fill handle across through those. So you can do dates, you can do times, you can do numbers, you can do common patterns that it knows. But essentially, this is what you're looking to be able to use. It's the bread and butter of Excel to really start utilizing your time wisely. So when we're done with this lesson, you're going to turn in your lesson file. So don't forget that you can share it right up here in the top right. And you can get that link that you need to be able to copy and paste it inside of this dialog box once it loads. So you can click copy link and paste that into the assignment after you've saved your file.